do a bookshop poem, since we're in a bookshop. Too far. Hunched down over a rectangle table back in the poetry section, I heard over the tops of the bookshelves the clerk tell a customer, "If you get to religion, you've gone too far." Like a deer reacting to gunfire, I shot back without considering what an appropriate volume might be. A rather vociferous, "I agree." And a suburban soccer mom in the A's of the self-help section moved away nervously as quickly as she could without making it painfully obvious. I went to university for 23 years. Wound up with a PhD, but really 23 years, it's actually a lot more sad than it is impressive. And so, but I went to a lot of academic conferences. Brady and I met at one, I believe, or because of one, at least. This is called Whither It Goes. Chins slide off palms in the halls of higher learning, and the beautiful young grad student squeaks and stammers her way through her paper on the universality of place in the poetry of Walt Whitman. And the amber waves of her hair look as if they might drown in the sea of suggestions that she received from some professor to put more words like antinomian and binary in her presentation, such as the hegemonious enterprise that we carry on in the English buildings of the postmodern world. And in the hot flush of her cheeks and the quivering confusion of her quaking voice, the crowd can do little more than watch her love of poems begin to die. I had great professors. I had a good educational experience, but academic conferences, I don't do them anymore. It's a source of great joy in my life that I don't go there anymore. I want to flip back over to a couple of the really short ones. The first one is called Forgiveness. Forgiveness is like a freshly fallen coconut. There is milk, even meat inside, but getting to it is the damnedest thing. Poem for my Grandma Brown. Grandma Brown, she grew up in Maud, Oklahoma, which is, I'm not joking, it is a suburb of Bowlegs, Oklahoma. Bowlegs is where they went to town. She lived most of her life, however, in Surreal, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Cement, Oklahoma. Cement is where they went to the movies. And my dad ran the projector and popped the popcorn. He did it all at the movie theater in Cement. But this is a poem for Grandma Brown, who lived most of her life in Surreal, Oklahoma, that still now only has a 4-way stop sign. That's it, in the middle of town. And it is, by the way, the corner of Main and Main. You just have to know. You have to know. Boy, she hollered at me, "Come on in out from under that car, it's time for lunch." And I cocked my head and counted. On, in, out, from, under. Awed by her ability with language and still full from breakfast, I thought, now who else could do that? Just rattle out 5 prepositions in a row without even thinking about it, and somehow I knew what she meant. I watched oil creep down my hand and pondered my degree in linguistics, all those textbooks and phonetic symbols, and Grandma, a total mystery. Like when I was 8 years old and she took me out to the garden through a banging screen door to show me our supper all growed up out of God's ground. Here's a poem for Mom. She hates this poem, but I read it anyway. It's called As the Minister of Propriety and Fermentation. Mom hands me the list. handwritten on the back of church stationery with a wince of hope in her eyes. KJ2 is code for a couple of nice Kendall Jackson Chardonnays, Vintner's Reserve. It's her favorite. Then champagne, 1 Andre X Dry, 1 Behringer Pink, if enough money. And she handed that list to me because she is a preacher's wife. Even if that preacher retired years ago, this is just how it's done here on the plains of Oklahoma, folks. Liberated as she may be, a temperate, upstanding woman married to a Baptist minister enlists an accomplice, someone beyond redemption, to buy her booze. And then as it came from my grandma down to my mom, and then I'm going to do one for my daughter here real quickly. She's 18 now, and I have her permission to read this poem. It's important. When you hear the title, you'll understand why that would matter to me. The title of the poem is 13 Going on Cougar. Lindsay's awesome. Boys with problem set. Jesse, he's cool at band practice the other day. Anyway, we can't ever get anything done. Math sucks, and I get to see if I don't turn this in tomorrow. Please, Dad, it's got to be there. And it was just a kiss. He's so shy. I always have to make the first move. Oh, that's just Ashley. She's like that. Ooh, I love this song. Turn it back to 104.1. Can we get a burrito? And I'm serious. Mr. Jackson only likes Asian students. Jody got caught with pot and snow the other day. But anyway, like I was saying, boys are the problem. You know, the whole freaking problem. OMG, WTF. So I'm going to do one more, okay, and turn it back over. And we're going to do one more set each, right? Does that sound okay? Are we doing all right so far? Yeah. And I am in the practice, have been in the practice of for the last 17 years, writing a poem every day. I've written a poem every day for the last 17 years. If for some reason I miss a day, I have to write 2 the next day. And so what that results in actually is an extraordinary amount of crap that you can't use. But it's good exercise. You know what I mean? You know, it's just like athlete, you work out. And so I consider it workout. I don't use everything. But I had a fun little accident the other day. And so I thought I was going to read one of my newer ones. And it's called Birds, Bees, and Referees. For the literary types among us who would not be reading this book because they are so well informed, I'll suggest anyway that you not be too hasty to dismiss the metaphorical merits of a sport like football. For 'twas the good hearts and vocabularies of ESPN commentators who taught me what little I know about sex. How to slip around the edge of the defensive line and then from there to push up inside without an illegal use of hands. How the best we can hope for is narrowing the gap so that we get good penetration whilst maintaining ball security. And what solid advice it is just before the snap to always make sure and keep a close eye on the tight end. That last one has become second nature to me. Though I do worry about getting called for unsportsmanlike conduct. Yet in my aging defense, it's not my fault that all this heavy traffic of young recruits running around and looking so fresh in training camp. I'll admit that when I was younger, I could never figure out why they were always carrying on about how that hole was so big. They got so excited, they'd fumble over their choices for adjectives. Gaping hole, gigantic hole, or my favorite, big time hole. This was usually when they'd start talking about that huge turnover in the second half. And what a difference it made in the game. After engaging the quarterback, he always got nailed from behind, which often left the defense or the offense backed up in the end zone. From there, it became a litany of how the defense had fully dominated in the backfield, which forced it down the middle. And at this point, all I cared about was the 2-minute warning, just hoping there'd be no official review before the clock ran out. Still, I want to say I have loved football It is the reason that I know that offsides, chop blocks, and hands to the face, but especially encroachment, holding, and jumping into the neutral zone are wrong and result in penalties. And that in order to win this game, we must work together as a team. Now that I have thoroughly offended everyone.